everyone, what's up? This is Simon back with a new tutorial on Ionic for and SQLite databases. So this has been a very popular topic in a post from I think 1 or 2 years ago. So today we will build again an app in which we will use some seed SQL data that we can import into our database, and then we will have all the operations like add, get, list. We will have a join, a delete, update, so everything working on the SQLite database. Let's do this. I've started the app already just like usually, and I've also added a new service and 2 pages so we can navigate around a bit in our app. What we need as well for SQLite is first of all the SQLite Ionic native package and the SQLite porter if you plan to import SQL data right in the beginning into your database. And of course also we need the according Cordova plugin, so that's gonna be the SQLite plugin, and that is the SQLite porter plugin. So once you've run all of this, you're in your new application, and what I did as well is I created a new seed SQL. So this could basically be a dump from your SQL system that you want to put into your application to seed some of the data maybe. In my case here, as you can see, I create a table developer with ID, name, skills, and image. So I got 3 values that I insert. That's just an image, the actual Twitter profile image, I think. And then also a product table in which we got a little connection between the product and the creator ID. So that's where we'll later add our join as well, so we can see how to use some of the SQL transactions. All right, of course, you can pick your own stuff. That's just one example. Link to the tutorial is below the video, where you can also find all of this. And also please make sure, if you haven't done so far, subscribe to the video, give it a like. I'm on a quest to reach 100k subscribers, as you can see from the count there below the video. I'm quite far away from that goal, but I'm sure I will make it, so please support me on my journey. All right. We can close this for now and go to our actual app routing. So I get better with that actually, and also the app module. And in this case, we will also, in a lot of files, bring in some code and not do all the typing, because it's actually a lot of code we got to do. So if you want to use SQLite and the SQLite porter, simply go ahead and add it to the array of providers, and the HTTP client module is needed if we want to load our local seed SQL file. And why is this file red? Okay, everything's red. I don't care. The file is legit. I don't know what's wrong. So we can get rid of home, and we can make developers the first path, and another path will be the developer page. So make sure that developers will be the list and developer will be the single developer details page. Okay, so once we got this, we can continue with our database service that we created in the beginning. And I will just bring in a lot of code now, so we can talk about this. So what we're going to do in our service is we want to first of all create a new database using the SQLite plugin. Okay, so go ahead with create. You can use the standard or default location, and also the name is up to you. You can actually look up all the different locations. Is there some explanation here? SQLite database config. Okay, location, well, example default, great explanation in here. You can find it on the GitHub page as well. All right, so once the database is created, and make sure you do this in platform ready, then we will start connection to this local database, and we call our seed database functionality. So in here we will now get our local file, which is seed SQL. We need to make sure that we add the response type text in here, because otherwise if we leave this part out, TypeScript will complain because it's an object that we pass to this function and it expects a string. So we need to make sure that the response type is set to text in those cases if we want to open a text file. And then we can finally call the import SQL to database. Actually, there are quite a few other statements you can use. So you could use export database to SQL, import JSON, export database to JSON, and wipe DB. So basically you can import JSON and SQL in or out of the database. And in our case, we then import our SQL into our own database, and then we will call two functions to load the developers and products so we can display them in a list. But this is for the next step. For now, it's just important to notice when the platform is ready, we create the database, we fill the database if it needs to be filled, and then we say the database is ready using our own behavior subject. So I think I got the question on another video. Basically, the difference between the behavior subject and the standard subject is that the behavior subject has an initial value, and we can always get this the current value from the behavior subject, and we can also get it as an observable. So it works perfectly for authentication states or stuff like that. But in our case, we will also use it simply with a boolean to display if our database is ready, because let's imagine our developer page, the developers page right here, is in the ng on init making a call to the database service to get all developers. The problem is the database might not even be created, it is not yet filled with data, so there are race conditions going on that we don't want to have. So therefore we will use the database service, and then whenever we want to do it, we will call get database state, subscribe to it, and only if the state is ready, we can then perform our operation in here to make sure the database is really ready, seeded, and everything. Actually we're fine. So we don't need any callback hell or something like that. We simply set it once we are done. Okay, and as you can see, we can return the behavior subject always as an observable and then subscribe to it. So get devs and get products will not work pretty well yet because we need to fill the values. And I might just bring in just one function first. So to load the developers in the beginning, and maybe, no, I will leave it. To load all the developers in the beginning, we execute our first SQL statement simply directly on the database. So you can pass in basically whatever you want. This is like what you learned in the first lesson when you go to university and got a database course. Select star from developer will give us all the data back. But this data object is pretty poorly formatted. You can't simply return it. You need to iterate through all of the rows and return the data in a more appropriate way. So you see, it's actually a bit complicated. We construct this local array. We push for all the rows in it, rows, item at that position, and then the actual field that we have defined for the database in our seed SQL. Maybe I can open it. So you see again, ID, name, skills, and image. And also I added a little bit of special in here because the skills field should be an array in the application. So like I got the skills, Ionic, Angular, YouTube, whatever. And when I enter them inside an input field, we will make them comma separated, and in the database, we will have them as a JSON stringified array. So a lot of transformation going on there. So therefore, whenever we get the data, we need to check if they're actually skills stored, and in that case, simply parse them back. So then skills will be a valid array again. And finally, maybe most important is this line where we in the end use the behavior subject just like we did with the database ready, simply call next, and a new value will be emitted to everyone who subscribed to the observable. And that subscriber will now get the new developers array. And whenever we call load developers again, the subscriber will be notified about the new developers. So we don't have to make the load developers call manually from our pages. We can just sneak them into all the functions in here in the database service, and automatically the view will be updated once we update the other things. So let me bring in the CRUD options now for the developers. So they look like this. We got add developer, can close this, And to add a developer, we call, okay, so this is no SQL course. You should have a general understanding of what you want to do, of course. So insert into developer. Here are the actual columns, and the values are question marks and will be replaced by the data object. So I just define it upfront to make this line not longer than needed. And we need name, and as I said, we will stringify the array all the time. So JSON stringify skills, and image goes right into it. And once this is done, as I said before, we can load the developers again, which makes perfectly use of the behavior subject. So to get one developer, we make a simple query where ID equals question mark, and again everything of those question marks can be resolved by passing in this array of values. We could also have it like, okay, we can do it like ID. Okay, I want to break things in here. Is that still valid? Yeah, like this, and then leave it empty. But I think we can also make use of it like it is here. And also, if we want to get one developer, we still have to make the transformation with the skills array and again with the row itself. So the data is always stored in data rows, and then however or how many rows, of course, for one developer, it should actually be only one row, so we can safely access this at position 0. Maybe just check if the position 0 exists. Could also be in the case that you access an empty object or whatever. So then developer delete, basically the same like before, only that we reload both of our things where we still need to implement the second, and update developer, set name, skills, image. And this is actually, I combined, I think I'm above this. This is a combination of both, so you could have the ID in the string and then still got the data as the array. That's completely up to you. I just wanted to show you that it both works. Okay, so finally, we are also able to load products, and the products are actually related to your creator. So say the Ionic Academy, the first thing is the ID, then we got the name, and then we got the creator ID. So we can resolve this to my entry, we can resolve the Ionic framework to Max, or we can use Ionicons and resolve this to Ben. So therefore we will need a little join, and our join looks like this. Select product.name, product ID, developer name as creator from product. So that's the first database, join developer on developer ID equals product, why is this highlighted, dot creator ID. So that's the join we got right here. I'm not an SQL expert, I just know a few things and how to make them work. I actually couldn't explain the left or outer join or whatever join. I couldn't make a sequence of multiple joins. I would definitely mess things up. So that's the best I can do. Anyhow, this will give us back a result with all the products, their names, ID, and the creator resolved to the actual name of the creator in the other database. So you see, the SQLite database can be accessed like any other database, and here we're using basically the same scheme like before, and calling next on the products, and finally add product, again just the same like before. Alright, that was actually a lot of code in here. Again, if you don't want to type everything, go check out the according tutorial linked below this video. And once you're done, we can continue to the developers page. So we already got the ready state, and in that case we can call database get devs, which will give us an observable. And we could actually also use this in the view, which we can, let's just do this with a product. So with a product, let's say this is an observable of the type any array. But for the developers, let's just use a local array, because we will then have it immediately available later inside our select. Okay, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm really sorry for this. But by having a local array, we can more easily access it inside an Ionic select, which will give us a popover in which we can choose to choose one of the developers. Otherwise, the select would be... Why is it every time that I record a video? Moving on, no call right now. Okay, so this.getDevs, nope, we want to subscribe, right, there we go. And this will give us back a nice array of developers. So devs changed, let's just add a few logs in here, and then we can set all local developers to the devs. Okay, as I said, for products, we will use the observable directly. So this is basically showing you all the options available for the SQLite database and how you could handle the data as an idea. All right, so if we use simply get products, this will just be the observable, and we need to use the async pipe in the view. Both options are totally fine. And because I'm pretty sure we're already recording quite long. Oh, we are at 60 minutes. Let me bring in some code. We definitely need to keep this short, at least under 30 minutes. Oh, sweet Jesus, and my Macintosh is almost full. Oh God, we need to hurry up. So, yes, we need a developer object as well in order to create a new developer. Actually, I recently saw someone on Instagram tagging herself with devho all the time. I don't know if I would do this. Maybe not. Maybe not. Leave a comment if you would tag yourself with hashtag devho. Okay, of course, we also got a little segment, so we can add a new product, which is also an empty object in the beginning. And then in here, as I said, the transformation from all the directions. In the input view, it is just comma separated, so we split it by comma to get an array. And then we also map and make sure everything has no more space inside. And then we finally edit, and the service is taking care of everything. Okay, same for product, but in this case, we don't need any special mapping going on. Because my hard drive is pretty full, I'm gonna bring in the view. I'm actually super lazy today, I just noticed. But this is anyhow a pretty heavy topic given all the SQL stuff. So let's go through this. No big deal up here. And then I decided to use a little Ion segment. Looks pretty cool. You can basically switch between the buttons. They got values. And then later on in the view, you make an ng switch based on the ng model that's also assigned to the Ion segment, and then you will see different parts of the view. Pretty cool, because we got the developer and the products. In the first view, we'll simply hold an input or the input fields to create a new developer. Let's get rid of this, and the add developer button and a list of the developers. So because we are assigning the developers locally, we don't need any async pipe in here. And for the router link, we use exactly what we've created in our app routing in the beginning. So /developers/developer ID will be the details page. We can use all the values and nothing special. Then we got the second ng switch case for products. Same again, the input fields. And now also the Ion select. So that's the reason, or that's what I talked about in the beginning, why we wanted to have the developers. I think maybe this would even work with an async pipe in here as well. But it's also cool to have the developers just locally, no problem. Product problem. Okay, moving on, and this has the async pipe as I described. The problem right now is that I would love to show this to you, but we need to deploy it to a device. So therefore, let's just real quickly wrap everything up with the developer. I actually recently found the key combination to import all missing imports. Yes, on a Mac it is command dot and then go to add all missing imports. Oh, this is like one of the best combinations I have found, or shortcuts I have found in Visual Studio. So on the developer page, we simply need to get the ID of the developer we are working with, then we can resolve the information from the actual service. And again, we're working in a different direction. So database in out is JSON, and working with the input field is always a string. So in that case, we again use the array and join it with a comma to have the value back. I don't know how I came up with it. It was really early in the morning, so sorry about that, really sorry. But the cool thing is it definitely works and shows you how to store an array in your database. Okay, so that's something. Alrighty, right. Delete, just making use of our service. We've defined everything up front. And update, again, a little bit of mapping things around and then calling update with a toast, so no big deal. And finally, that view is now really the most, no, it's not the most easy view we had in here, but it's just having the defaults or the standard button that we always have on the details page to go back. We got the delete button, and then inside the content, we check if we got a developer, that's in here from my blog. Then we got the ng model fields. Actually using a different field here to not confuse the developer object skills. So that's why we make the transformation in here and simply leaving this .developer skills like it is and only write back to it once we update developer. So just a little workaround. And then we got everything. So before the video gets too long and my hard drive is full, let's take a look at this on a device and also see how we can debug all of this. All right, so here's the app on my device. As you can see, we got the segment up top. We can switch between products where we see all of the products we inserted with the seed data and also the developers. So now let's try to add a developer. Let's try to add Adam, I don't know, Ionic, JS, whatever. For the image URL, I'll actually use just the copy image address of the good old Adam. And then because it just works, I can immediately paste it on my iPhone. So let's add Adam and we can see is added to the list, Ionic, JavaScript. We can go to the details and we will see all the things we added before. Also, what we see as well on the products table is that we can resolve all the information to the creator using the join. We see the little log in here, actually nothing special, but once the developer's array changed, we added this log so we see what's going on. Product name, I don't actually know if Adam worked on stencil a lot, but let's just do this stencil.js for Adam, add product, and then it is created by Adam. So finally, I'm sorry, Ben, I just need to delete someone. I don't want to delete Max and me, and I just added Adam, so bye Ben. And then Ben is gone from the list and actually also from the products list because the join can't find any information for that anymore. Okay, so now you think, how can I debug this stuff? And the cool thing is it's actually pretty easy, and I will show you for iOS. So inside of your Xcode, you can open the devices from top window, devices and simulators, then find your assigned iPhone, then find the app and click download container. So then you save the file somewhere on your disk, okay, taking some time. And then I recommend to use a cool tool like database browser for SQLite to open a database file. Okay, I was too fast for myself. Before opening the database, you need to show the package contents of the folder you just downloaded. And from there you can go to app data, library, local database, and there you will finally find it. So I don't know if it works like this right now. Let's hope for it. Yes, there we go. So now we can see the tables we created, we can see their columns and their setup, and we can also browse the data, and we see Ben is gone, Adam was added, Ionic.js was written to the database, and also in product stencil was created with a creator ID 4, which is Adam, so the inner join works perfectly. For Android, for all of you interested, of course, this works as well. I created a file somewhere here. So simply, like always, run the Cordova build, install it with ADB like always, and then you can actually extract it using the ID. So that's set up in the config XML. That's just the one of the starting file. If you picked a different ID for your application, then of course you need to change this. But then you should be able to, this should be an arrow like this, I think. Let me just quickly look this up to make sure. Yes. So in that case, you can write it to your own database somewhere locally and then open it with a browser again. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's not that easy to implement all of this because you have to work a lot with the device. You have to test things out a lot. The data is not always like you expect it to be, so you need to transform it a bit. And also getting the database from the device is a bit more complicated, but I hope you enjoyed this video. You got now a good way to get started with SQLite database on an Ionic 4 application. If you get any questions, like always, ask below. Please also make sure to leave the like, the subscribe, and the bell button so you always get the latest videos. Remember, Tuesday and Thursday you will catch me. So thanks again for your time, appreciate it, and I will see you inside the next video.